Cara Clark joins me this week. You may remember her from an episode several weeks back when we were just talking all things health and wellness. But since that episode, she's been helping me through a lot of my own health journey. So Cara, welcome back to the podcast.
It's so fun to be back because I feel like we can get more specific now.
Oh, so specific, because now you have a full-on patient in your midst that has done a lot of the things that you've suggested and told me to do. So we're kind of just going to dive right into all of this, but go ahead and give them a brief background just to reset in case nobody heard that last episode.
Well, and I did hear from a lot of your fans and wanting similar things to what we've done for you. And I think, the biggest premise is like, we still always have to have the foundations. We still always have to have the baseline, which can be pretty much across the board, but then it gets pretty bio-individualized. Like the plan you have is not a plan I've ever given to anyone else. You know what I mean? So, but the baseline and the foundations is pretty simple. It's eating for a stable blood sugar. For most people, that looks pretty similar. It's eating within the hour of waking up, every 3 to 4 hours after that, always combining your macronutrients, eating 5 different colors a day. So getting that variety of phytonutrients, drinking the right amount of water, which not easy for you.
I'm still learning on that one.
Movement, which we actually had to go backwards in order to go forward with you. So movement, how it feels good, what feels good to your body, that's not the same as everybody around you. And, I think a lot of times we compare ourselves to people at our stage of life or whatever, and we want to do what they do. But a lot of times in order to move forward, we have to take a big step backwards. So that, going back on what I always teach is stabilizing your blood sugar through food, regulating your nervous system, which we did with you right from the get-go. Movement, like I said, and dialing in sleep, and then just deloading the body.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we did so much. It was crazy because I was sharing it online really as a more informative of, hey, there's a lot of things you can do to help yourself. But it was an interesting place to be in because a lot of people are like, I want to do everything you're doing. But I always had to do it with the stipulation of just an FYI, this was my specific body experience. We did things specifically for what I was going through, what my blood work looked like, what my symptoms were. And that's going to be so different for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's I want to put that asterisk even on this episode is these things are going to be tools to help you with different things. But what we're talking about specifically are things that worked for me, and Cara will be able to share things that work for other people.
Yes.
But that's such a big part to this is I know in a lot of traditional medicine, we've learned to believe that there's kind of a one size fits all in a lot of ways and a lot of medicines. But when it comes to really focusing on healing your body, that's not quite how it works.
Exactly. Because to your point, a symptom across the board that many people might have. So for instance, I'll share one that you have talked a lot about in just a second, is going to be treated differently for each person because there's different causes of that symptom. So we're looking at head to toe, also discussing symptoms, how long they've been going on, that sort of thing. But the one I was laughing about yesterday, because it always just makes me think of you, was how you haven't really smelled for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And somebody said this at my Bible study yesterday, like, I haven't smelled, like, I know people, or I haven't smelled or tasted for like 3 years. And I'm like, who lives like that? Like, why don't you figure out a solution? So like my mindset is like, I don't like to live with very many frustrations, health issues, but I know what happens is people start to normalize those. So like we get these symptoms and we think, well, this is just who I am. This is like a part of me. This is ingrained in me, whatever. And then we just deal with it. But I was laughing so hard because I'm like, who would just deal with that?
And then you were thinking about me having dealt with it.
So one of the questions I asked Morgan every single week, this is fun for you guys to know, is, well, how would you rate your smell? What's the percentage?
Yeah. And it's funny because we still haven't quite gotten there. We still have a ways to go. There's still part of my healing journey that we've kind of put on a pause because my life always gets very chaotic around the holidays.
Yes.
Which
smart.
I definitely want you to talk about because the smell has been such a big portion. It was a big reason of why I even went to Cara in the first place. Was I knew in my heart that smell wasn't the only thing being impacted. Was like, there's other stuff going on in my body and I know it's all connected. I just don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And that was really what led me to you. You came on the podcast and so much of what I love about you is finding a way to integrate into your day-to-day life, because it's really hard if we go into things like this with this mindset of all or nothing.
Right.
You try to, because that's the hope eventually. But with this all or nothing mindset, I think it deters a lot of people from trying it.
Well, and it's even something I had to say to you a couple times was like, this isn't a setback. This is life.
Yep.
So like we deal with the cards that we're given, and most of them are good. So like, especially during the holidays, the experiences are fun. You're with people you love. You feel safe with these people. Like, savor that. And then let your body be your guide on food. I think you'll probably share that you even learned your lesson a little bit on your Friendsgiving.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You know, I said, enjoy yourself, have fun, don't worry about it. None of this is going to be a true setback. It's just learning how to live life this way. But you said you didn't feel very good.
Yes, yeah. See, we have so many different parts of this to talk about, but let's start from like very beginning. So the reason I went to Cara in the first place was I had long COVID and I knew it was impacting my body. My symptoms ranged from not having my smell. I had fatigue. I had brain fog. I couldn't really remember things super well. Dizziness. Yeah. I feel very confident that vertigo played a significant role in that. And there was just a lot of things all leading up to me just feeling truly like crap. On top of that, like beyond long COVID being a thing, I had gained anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds that I, for the life of me, could not get off of my body, no matter how much I thought I was.
You worked out really hard.
Yeah, I worked out hard.
Way harder.
Yes. And I was very disciplined in what I thought I was eating, and I thought I was doing all of the right things. And so going to Cara, that was really like a back of mine, like maybe this will also help along the lines of there. And it just... everything changed, truly. My entire mindset of everything changed. So that was the reason I went to Cara.
Yeah, but you were so compliant that it was a little bit of an all or nothing for a window. And I think that is a huge factor. So like, I personally won't even work with somebody that doesn't have your level of compliance, because it can be so frustrating. And then they want to blame me for their lack of compliance. But, I think you knew like you were going to give it your all for 8 weeks. And I think it was helpful to set that timeline. Like we had that much time between summer and holidays, which is a huge time for people to take advantage of their health. And you were all.
I went hard.
You were all and plus.
Yes.
So, you know, the biggest factor we had to take into consideration with you for hard resetting with food was that you're pretty much vegetarian. And so that was one of the things I was a little bit nervous about, if I'm being really honest. And I shared that with you. I don't even know how to not share the whole truth.
Yeah, no, you should. Go ahead and share it.
So it was more like, hey, what are you comfortable with? Because you eat eggs, you eat cheese. I know you're comfortable with some non-vegetarian or non-vegan foods, I should say. And you don't have a vegan approach either, which was also really helpful, that you weren't eating like fake meat and like tofu and stuff like that. And I'm not completely anti-soy, but it's not really helpful in how we wanted to move you forward. So I was like, okay, I would love to do this hard reset, like autoimmune protocol with you, but it's not possible. We like worked every which way, because we need nuts, we need seeds. We especially need legumes. We did take a break from eggs, mostly because you got sick of them.
Yeah, because
which was kind of helpful.
Which I think we even talked about last time on the podcast, because I have such a weird relationship with eggs. Sometimes I really like them, and sometimes I want to throw up eating them. It's
because you didn't have your cottage cheese. So we did. We tapered back dairy, which can be inflammatory, but the bigger key with dairy is to take breaks from it. Because it is a great protein. As you know, it really satisfies you. Adding it back in was no problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've learned, even just adding things in, and we'll get to that in depth, is that if I did too much, I felt my body reacting. If I was really intentional about it, only had a couple bites, or I, didn't fully splurge, my body didn't react quite as much. It was
you weren't completely reliant.
Yes. It was like I had to very much understand what my body was signaling me when I was introducing those, and how far could I take it.
Yes. And then I pushed you, how far could I take you? Even as far as going to, what's your blood type? Let's figure out if this is a long-term thing that you can be healthy with, you know? And we evaluated that, and it was just amazing how open you were to various protein powders, adding in different protein options, and even bone broth.
Yeah. Bone broth is about the only way I think I will ever be able to incorporate something that isn't vegetarian, vegan, because there's just in my head, I can't. Like in my head, I'm still that little girl, like 8 years old, making the decision to not eat meat. And even it's like now, you know how eggs, I love it sometimes and hate it other, but meat is like I hate it all the time. I want to vomit even thinking about it. So Cara was like, okay, well, maybe we can try fish. And I was like, no, I will.
I forgot I said that.
She was like, salmon, maybe? You're trying everything. And I was like, this is not a possibility.
I even said shrimp. Shrimp?
Yeah. You tried fish because that would be an easier transition for somebody who has been vegetarian for so long. And I just looked at Cara and I said, I don't know that I will ever be able to physically consume meat.
Yeah, animals.
Like eating wise. And she goes, okay, bone broth. And I was like, well, if I can find a way to sneak it in and I can like mentally trick myself, then I'll try it every now and again. And it's still something challenging. I've tried it a few times and like snuck it in foods.
Yes.
Like I'll do mostly vegetable broth with like a cup of bone broth. But then my mind still kind of plays tricks on me where it's like, you know what you're eating. You don't like this. Yeah. But it's been an interesting challenge for me. So still very much holding on to that vegetarian side of me while also allowing myself the grace to try bone broth every now and again.
Yeah. And what it came down to was her blood type isn't necessarily an ideal match for true vegan vegetarian. And I love a plant-based approach. If you ever follow, hopefully some of you guys have dug into my meals, but if you've ever followed my meals, I really do lead with plants. I try to make the protein be like a portion, you know, and so when looking at Morgan's labs, I could tell that there was some B vitamins that were off, and that, you know, we can supplement potentially, but then we took a deeper look and some of the inflammatory markers were telling me, okay, well, we don't use B vitamins that well either.
Lucky
you
me.
Guys, to complicate things even worse for me too. I'm like, I have to get real crafty here. And then you were open to, you know, a couple of the options. So that was really helpful. Decreasing her stress load by giving her foods that were only nourishing. So we gave you like a very simple, you know, food approach, and that works for you too, honestly. You guys, Morgan can eat the same thing every day.
For the most part, for at least a week, I can eat the same thing. And then I'm like,
and
okay,
also she can go without eating, which is another huge aspect to her improvement. Is something I think, you know, I used to shy away from talking about fasting at all because I think it can be so harmful in the way that people do it. And so we even bio-individualized that setup for you and structured it in a day that was like, you know, one of the days you were going to forget to eat anyways, and guided your path with that. So Morgan, so compliant to add in a weekly fast.
Yep. We did an extended fast.
Fast weekly. And it was anywhere between 24 and 36 hours. I think it got more 36-ish as you went on, right?
Yeah. The longest I ever went was 41 hours. And I thought I was going to eat off my hand at that point. That was where I caved and I said, I have to have food or I will become a monster. And
we were monitoring her stress signals. We were monitoring her hydration. I was making sure she was having electrolytes. You know, pretty much weekly is when I would hear from her as well. She was fasting, which was really helpful because it does make me a little bit nervous. In her case, again, when we're looking at lab markers, I could see a very high stress load. So high stress load, burned out B vitamins, not surprising with a high stress load. The adrenals really run through B vitamins, and then a methylation issue on top of that. So we had some markers that point towards methylation issues, potentially genetically. Okay. So I'm not going to say for sure because we didn't do a genetic test, but we had markers pointing towards that. And so we had, like I said, we had to get a little bit creative, and I kept encouraging her, hey, let's make sure we are working with the system, not for or against it, right? We didn't want to add all this stuff. She was so used to taking so many things. And even though I still probably kept you on like a good amount of things, it was not working for you.
Yep.
It was activating your system to do the work. And one of the things that comes to mind is the adrenal cocktail that we had you having every morning.
Oh, yeah. And I haven't told you, this was a controversial post.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I had somebody reach
I should have
out
seen that.
and yell at me for saying that this helps adrenals.
Oh.
And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to have Cara talk about this
Yeah.
because where I think the controversy lies is that you have a lot of people stuck in the traditional medicine mindset where there's only one way to do things. And I think if you have, and this was a person who was speaking from a very medically complex situation. And I said, yeah, you're an individual. You're probably not going to work with this particular thing.
Yeah.
But somebody like me who has different things happening, this is going to help me. So I would love for you to speak on this and why we have integrated this into my life still every day.
Yeah. So like I was saying, the stress patterns in her body I keep saying her and Morgan, but you guys know who I'm talking about. The
Same.
Stress patterns in your body were high. Also, your life is unpredictable. And so in order to let her body heal, her body was protecting itself from itself. So in order to let her heal, we had to decrease the stress. And so we had to let the system know it was safe. And the adrenal cocktail is designed to provide the electrolyte minerals from natural sources. So we have salt, we have potassium, we have chloride. And those were coming from the cream of tartar and the salt and the coconut water.
And the orange is just for good measure.
Orange is for good measure. It's not enough to spike your blood sugar, but it is high enough to spike some people's blood sugar. So blood sugar is not Morgan's issue.
Which is great. At least there's something that wasn't my problem.
And that's true because a lot of the times when I'm seeing people, there is metabolic dysfunction. For you, it was more mitochondrial dysfunction. So the powerhouse of the cell was dysfunctioning, which was kind of making, stress signals, neurotransmitters, that kind of stuff unstable. And when that was unstable, so the body couldn't heal from the long haulers. And so we had to bring our body into a safety net that it could heal. So all the food that you ate, the drinks that you drank, were all working for the greater purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
But I can see why for a medically complex person that may not make sense. So we're not telling everybody to do the same thing.
No, and it also wasn't, we weren't posting it I think there was a lot of people who think if they drink that every morning, it was a magic cure.
Yeah.
And it was going to fix a lot of
Well, and that's
things.
just it. There's no miracle cure for
Yes.
any of this. There's not one thing that's going to do it all.
No, and is this maybe going to help with your potentially stress levels? But I often said if anybody reached out I'm also doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you that that's the only thing that's going to help and make it better. It could for you. Maybe that's all you have as a problem. I hope it is.
Yeah.
But if you're like me and you have a multitude of things going on, then you're going to have to also incorporate a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
So
for you, that drink was foundational, but for a lot of people, that would be supplemental.
okay.
And the reason I say that was foundational is because the chronic stress load on your body. And when we went back on a timeline, it was like, okay, well, since I can remember, this was happening to my body. So it wasn't just 2020 when it started. It's what amplified it.
Yeah.
And that's what I see a lot of times.
Yeah, it was like I had long COVID just exasperated a lot of things that were already happening in my body, which is what we've also very much talked about. It was almost like long COVID came along and just kind of like kicked everything further along.
Right, exactly.
You kind of already had these things brewing. It was just
it's like shining all the flashlights on the problems.
Yeah.
Which is why the inflammation got to be sort of out of control, meaning that all the things you used to do to manage your weight weren't working the same way. That wasn't just an age thing. That was inflammation at its core is protection. And so again, your body was protecting you from you. And then, foundationally, like I said, we support with food, we supported with movement. So let's talk about that.
Oh, movement. Yeah. So I used to be I was a boxer. I would do CrossFit. I would do all
the
kinds
way
of,
back a gymnast.
Yes. Like I was always a very active person and I even still say it to this day. If I don't sweat, I don't feel like I did a workout. So I was always a very intense person when it came to working out. It's what made me feel really good. And Cara looked at me one day and said, we're going to need to tailor that for a while.
How do you feel about walking?
Let's not do that for a while.
Again, that was to help your body work with you. So when the body's in chronic stress overload, which was kind of the keynote for you. So when I looked at the labs, it was like stress, inflammation, potentially genetics. But mostly, I don't want to say lifestyle because it's not like you weren't already doing things healthily. Mm-hmm. You just were overdoing them and underdoing them. She wasn't eating enough. She wasn't drinking enough water. She was being overactive, and not overactive like where, her exercise consumed half her day, but she was going too intense. And so we were monitoring your temperature, your heart rate multiple times a day, and just seeing if what we were doing was working for the system or working against the system. So those were stress markers that we could collect the data on every day. Some of those we still want to improve, but they did get better. They got more consistent. They got more predictable. The big factor was how she was feeling after her workouts. And Morgan, like she was so used to sweating, so used to going so hard, but she also maybe got used to not feeling good from the workouts and just thinking that was normal. I mean, as a gymnast who is on the floor for 5 hours a day or whatever, that would feel normal.
Yeah, you get used to that,
yeah,
right?
You do.
As an athlete
you
growing
get used
up,
to the fatigue of it.
You know that too, as an athlete. It becomes this identity where you're like, well, if I didn't push hard enough, then I'm not going to feel it or I'm not going to see the results. And so there would be times leading up to this, really towards the end, right before I started working with Cara, where I was doing this series of workouts that was really intense. And the whole purpose was to keep hitting PRs and get higher. And there was one day where I thought I was having a panic attack. My heart was like beating out of my chest. You would have thought that I just like ran a marathon. And I was so confused because my body was screaming at me like something's not right. Yeah. And I was still pushing it. And that was an indicator to me that something was going on because that had never happened to me before. And then after that, as I started to work with Cara and I was still lifting, not quite to that extent, but I was still lifting, I would get really lightheaded. I'd get really dizzy. And she's like, okay, I think this is just a sign your body like really wants you to chill out for a while and just start walking and doing yoga, which is all I did.
For about 6 weeks, right?
Yeah. And that's, I mean, what was wild to me in this entire experience is a few things. One, I lost 15 pounds when I wasn't going hard. I became
eating more.
Yeah. Eating more food all the time. I realized how much unhealthy, healthy stuff I was putting in my body that was really marketed to me as healthy. I realized.
What are some examples of those? I feel like people are going to want to know that.
Well, I feel like it's the treat stuff, right? Where it's like, it's obviously better ingredients. And the key in general that I've noted in this whole process, because I was basically vegan and gluten-free this whole process. So like, I guess that's vegan. Because since I wasn't eating meat, it basically just turned into vegan besides adding bone broth whenever I could stomach it. And it was very much, I would go to places and I'd get really excited about seeing like an alternative with really healthy ingredients of something. Say it's tortillas or crackers. And I still will consume them. It's just now understanding how that's playing a role in my entire makeup, right? Like if I'm eating chips and I'm snacking, my body's probably not going to like that because I didn't give it any actual nutritions. If I did eat some chips after a really great meal, then my body's probably going to respond better. Yeah. It was a lot of that where, okay, now I'm learning the ingredients I should and shouldn't be consuming. I should really be eating constantly whole foods. And you always made a point to me and said, because you have such a low protein diet by choice, you're going to have to forcibly consume protein before you go and consume these foods. Yeah. And that was also an important factor. So it was like, it was really relearning how my body needed nutrition and what that looked like.
And I just want to point out that you never once said calories.
Oh, no.
You said ingredients, you said real food, you said nutrition. We never counted calories.
Nope. Never touched them.
We barely talked about macros. It was more conceptual, like intuitive, like making sure she had all 3 macros at every meal, pulling from certain meals that we worked on together. That was crafty and creative too. But I think that's a big key for people is not like, well, I only had like 10 chips. Well, what else did you have? What did you give your body that it can use? Because again, if we're putting food into our body or, processed food, I should say, and our body can't use it, then it's causing more stress.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I was a habitual snacker. That's just how I consumed meals. Was I'd eat when I could, and it'd be here or there, and it'd be chips and or like
that rock star life.
Literally, like crackers and cheese. I ate like a toddler, not because I wanted to, but because that was just how my lifestyle really allowed. Mm-hmm. And I had to completely shift my idea of what my lifestyle looked like.
Yeah,
and it was taking. My life is very stressful in a lot of situations, and I'm very busy all the time, but I had to put it in a mindset of this is your health, and the only way you're going to be able to keep doing this is to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I had to pull back those layers.
Yeah. And before that too, before we started working together, you had already kind of honed in on sleep and getting yourself into a better circadian rhythm.
Yeah. And changing I would go to bed so late. Now I go to bed so early, and that's the focus. And I've become a lot more intentional about just so many different aspects that I would have never learned without you. Mm-hmm. You were so important in guiding and helping me learn things and really making me take charge of what I needed to take charge of.
And you did a great job. And I remember at the beginning too, you kept saying my detox. And I'm like, well, Morgan, remember, your body can't detox yet. Mm-hmm. We have to work on the foundations and the drainage pathways. So and really when people are getting more honed in on their goals and through a lens of functional nutrition and functional health, then they do feel the detox. So naturally your detox pathways were opening back up. Your drainage pathways were getting aligned with the detox pathways, and your body was losing. But it's ironic because we never ever once talked about your weight.
No, never.
And then at one point I was like, oh my gosh, your inflammation is gone. And you're like, I just weighed myself.
And I lost 15 pounds. Yeah. What just happened?
Yeah. And that was only in 6 weeks.
It really was. And it was I put on my standing only jeans. That's how I figured it out.
Standing only.
Because I could only wear them while standing. And so I got really excited because I put on my standing only jeans and I was like, I can sit in the standing only jeans. And that was not at all part of this entire process, but it was a cool moment of it. And that was then when I weighed myself. I was like, oh, holy crap. I lost 15 pounds that I've been trying to lose for 5 years. It was a wild revelation.
You probably do a lot of events where you're only standing.
Yeah.
So you can justify having a standing only jean.
See, but this is where the problem was in my body, was that my waist has always stayed a pretty stable size. It's really never changed. Uh-huh. But the inflammation in my gut and stuff has changed. Okay. So then it changes the fit of a lot of jeans that I have to wear. 1, because I'm short, and 2, because I already have a small waist on top of that. So jeans never fit me in the right way.
Yeah.
They just never did. I found very few pairs where they actually were great for all opportunities. So I always had standing jeans.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
Oh yeah. So
that had to be a huge moment.
It was. And, it was so funny because even my boyfriend was like, you look tiny. You're already tiny.
Yeah.
And you look even tinier. It's like you're shrinking. And I was like, this feels crazy and I feel amazing. It wasn't like I was doing that because I felt like I needed that
No, it never even came up. It was all trying to reverse the symptoms you were having, reverse the conditions that you were facing, and reset the body. Mm-hmm. And it was detoxing you. You were losing inflammation, but the process of that is making sure your 4 drainage pathways are open.
Yes. And that's why I want you to talk about that, because something you had told me was you hear a lot of people who will promote detoxes online, or they'll promote parasite cleanses and these different things. But you looked at me and said, we can't do any of that yet.
We still haven't. We haven't even, well,
we've done kind of a few detoxes and parasite things, but very minimal. That's what the long journey.
We had to get you to a safe place.
Yeah. My body wasn't ready.
It was way too stressed. And what happens is people they jump on board for these quick fixes, or it worked for so-and-so. But the reality is most programs that are marketed as detox cause more harm than good, because the drainage pathways are not open. So when your body is detoxing, so like if there's a die-off, with detox comes die-off of pathogens, whether it's parasites, fungus, Candida, which is also a fungus, bacteria, viral, there's a die-off, and that releases gases into the body. Well, if the body's not able to collect that up and disperse it and get it out of the system, it's going to cause more inflammation. So I've seen a lot of people do parasite cleanses, especially because that's the trendy one lately, because a functional medicine detox will actually help to optimize pathways too. And it will at the least not do anything.
Okay. It's not hurting you.
It won't hurt you. But I never see those marketed. Those are, they're more discreet. The ones I see marketed are always causing more harm than good if the drainage pathways aren't open. And so that was a big conversation that we had, because I know that you were ready to like get rid of things. And like we said, it wasn't a weight thing. We knew there was inflammation, but we knew there was inflammation not really based on how she looked, because I'm sure you guys look at her and like, yeah, you're tiny, like you're always tiny. But on how she felt. So like if there's dizziness and there's, congestion. So we worked on lymphatic system a lot to continue to move, waste where it was supposed to go. So our lymphatic system is kind of the king of waste. And we always just think things are coming out in our sweat and our stool. But like, how do they get to the sweat and the stool?
There's to kind of help them
there's
along
other
sometimes.
systems in the body that help that. Not only that, our lungs. So like a lot of people are, they have short breaths, or it's very much in their chest and not in their diaphragm. So we worked on breath work right away. We worked on lung capacity, and then we worked on nervous system to help the lungs, because the lungs are the king while you sleep. They're creating carbon dioxide that breaks down harmful waste and moves it along. So that's the biggest overlooked one, in my opinion. And then the other one that happens a lot for women with anxiety or your stressy girlies.
Yeah, I call them stressy girlies. It makes me feel better.
Is the kidneys. The kidneys are off, and that shows up in like how we don't feel empty when we go pee, or, we constantly feel like we have to pee, or the opposite. We never feel like we have to pee. And so one of the drainage pathways is our kidneys, and our uric acid is breaking things down, and so it's not just our poop and our sweat.
Yes. Yeah.
Which also needs optimized for most people. So we had a sweat test for you.
Oh yeah. And so now that's why I'm now up to 25 minutes in my little blanket, which I'm doing really good in now. But the beginning of it was a crazy experience, because that was
staying so long.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It started 15 minutes, and then we moved up to 25 every day, and I still do it. It honestly, now, if I feel like crap because I ate something I shouldn't have, or I was busy and I didn't do what I needed to do, I can kind of get in the sauna blanket. It kind of resets me. It gives me a little fresh start. I love that feeling now.
It is amazing. Well, and the sauna blanket's unique too, because it's infrared. It's not just a hot blanket. Like a lot of people get that on Amazon, and then they cinch holes in their body. But
okay, well, don't do that. Okay, that's your warning not to do that. But why is the infrared important?
The spectrum of, so this is physics, and we talked a lot about physics, working on the nervous system, using frequency music, that kind of stuff. That's all physics. So there's a spectrum of red light, and infrared is invisible, but it actually helps to work on like a tissue level. So getting into the cells, into the tissue of the body, and releasing, things out of it. So just a traditional sauna is going to help purify the body through the sweat. Well, most people aren't sweating appropriately. Their drainage pathways aren't open. So the infrared can help whether the drainage pathways are open or not. So I always recommend infrared over traditional, especially if you're not really sure where you're at in your health journey.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know because these are all things people ask me about, and I'm just like, honestly, Cara told me what to do, and I just do it.
Yeah.
That's really what has been happening.
But almost anyone can benefit from infrared sauna, detox baths, red light therapy. So rather than like putting extra stuff into your body, we were like trying to help mobilize that stuff to get out of the body by supporting the pathways and your sweat and your nervous system.
Mm-hmm. And you were at the very beginning of all of this. It was like peeling an onion. So
Yeah.
you had talked to me about, and I think this goes along with it, there was like different steps we had to take in order for me to get to where I am currently. This wasn't just I met with her once and she told me XYZ, I see your labs and this is what we're doing. It was like, this is step one. Let's start here. And then we kind of just kept adding or pulling back or changing things as she was monitoring my progression. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. And going back to the stress support. So we saw labs at the very beginning. I was like, I need all of your labs that you've had in the last year or two, anything, so that I could get a good read on her body. And like I said, the very obvious thing was if we don't support your body in a very loving way, then we're not going to get where we want to get to. So that first layer was just providing the foundational support for you. Again, that was different. Obviously, we always want like an active multivitamin, but you were already doing that with Immuplex. We want, in your case, we needed some B activation. We need omegas. Almost everybody needs more omegas,
which is fish
better
oil.
omegas. Yeah. For you that we did the Resolven, the body bio. So we were working on different, because I said we could see some mitochondrial issues that were potentially contributing to the stress or the stress caused them. It wasn't, which came first, the chicken or the egg. So we did a lot of the body bio, which is cell support for you. And that really helped us to eliminate and, eliminate the fatigue. So once that energy came, we were able to accomplish a lot more. And then we could see what would bring the energy up and what would bring it back down. So we kind of were able to assess based on your energy levels, what was working, what wasn't working. In order for her to actually do a detox, I made her run more labs.
That is true, which was also a nightmare because I'm terrified of needles and I hated it. And I looked at Cara and I said, please don't make me do it. Also, I let Cara prick me in her office to get my blood drawn.
She didn't tell me she was afraid of needles.
Yeah, I was terrified. But we had to figure out my blood type.
We had to figure out the blood type.
As she mentioned earlier, because that's beneficial.
You don't do this for everybody.
Yeah, I know, but it was something we needed.
Yeah.
And but then I did end up getting labs, which was also an interesting experience because you pulled labs so much more different than the labs that I had done originally.
Yes.
So original labs like a CBC that you'd get at a doctor's office really aren't pulling a lot of the vitamins, minerals, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Am I correct in that?
Well, yeah. So it's not so much vitamins. Like I'm not usually looking at the full micronutrient panel. I do like to see some B vitamins. I like to see obviously iron. So there are some vitamins and minerals, but yeah, the general, I always say it's kind of like a cherry picking. Like you're going to say, I have this symptom and they're going to just do a few labs that are relative to them. But if I don't see what's going, so like for instance, I didn't have I feel like your full CMP.
Yeah,
your
we
metabolic
just did
panel.
like a basic kind of one.
Yeah, so I had your basic. I could tell there was a stress load. I could tell it was a chronic stress load. I also could tell that we were depleted of B vitamins based on your red blood cells. But I couldn't figure out because I didn't have the panel what that looked like potentially genetically. And so how far can we go without knowing that there's a potential genetic factor?
Yeah.
And can you detox? So with genetic components like MTHFR, you might not ever be able to detox. So you were right on the verge of that from a lab marker standpoint. Yes, it was way more labs, but was it way more tubes when you got the lab work done?
It was a few more, but not a whole much more. Yeah. But it was also the MTHFR, if you want to touch on that, because we suspect, again, we haven't done the true genetic testing of it, but based on labs and what she has seen, Cara's like, I suspect that this is probably something that's a part
because
of it
after you lost 15 pounds before we redid labs. I knew there was inflammation, based on symptoms, but I didn't have the lab markers for that. So we ran homocysteine, CRP, we did the full iron panel, and we did the full thyroid panel, which were not in your labs. Your thyroid's good. So that was the good news. Like the stress wasn't so significant that it was causing like actual autoimmune, but the homocysteine and the CRP were still above what I would have expected after doing all that work. So that was the indication that, okay, there's genetic factors at play that we have to make sure going forward. So we kind of made a going forward plan. Like we got to take this into consideration. So it's like some of the supports that I have you on might be medicine cabinet and some might be long-term.
Yes. Like something I'm on for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Versus something I have to take when I feel certain things.
Yes. And in reality too, I feel like when you're in a maintenance, we're still not there. Like we haven't like hit the end goal for you. But when you're in maintenance, if you forget to take your supplements or whatever for a day or two, it's not a big deal. Yeah. You don't notice the difference.
Yeah, because you've worked up and you've put in all the work and the hours and time.
Consistency pays off. Same with food. That's why I was like, go enjoy your parties. Like enjoy the holidays. You have put so much into this. You are so compliant, so consistent. That pays interest. That carries you through.
Well, and honestly, that was one of the first changes I had made was the diet change. Was the going completely dairy-free, gluten-free, basically the vegan side of it. And I'm still keeping up with that. That's still something I'm doing beyond, if I go and have a meal with my family or something and I can't really find a lot of options somewhere that I'm at and I just kind of have to make do. But then before, what's crazy too is that would have spiraled me. That would have sent me, okay, well, I already ate this, so I'm just going to continue down that path. But now,
you got hooked on a feeling.
Yeah, really.
You got hooked.
But new Morgan, she's like, okay, well, I have my dinner at home. I'll, for me to eat that.
So my book's called The Feel Good Way.
It's all about it's really truly integrating into your lifestyle and figuring out how you can make it work for you.
It doesn't feel like restriction. I love that quote that says, it's a health quote that says, everything changes when it goes from I can't have that to I don't want that.
And that's very much where I am.
Yeah.
There's still moments, don't get me wrong, where I'm like, oh yeah, I want that. That looks really
for sure.
good. But then I feel it. So now that we're in this space right now where I am trying the 90-10 lifestyle is what we've called it, where 90% I'm keeping up with everything and 10% where I have that room to try other foods and do other things if my life is chaotic, because a lot of times it is. And I have noticed I'll get headaches or my body will be really itchy. It just doesn't like that type of food. And so when you get that response after having put in all the work, you do get to a place of, I don't think I want that. I think I'm okay. And that you really start to weigh those options,
right.
Especially once you've felt so good and you know how good it feels.
You don't want to lose that.
To then be like, I don't feel great anymore. Even though one day that I had that, I looked at my boyfriend and I was like, I have the worst headache. I don't like this. I don't feel great.
Really?
Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah.
Aww.
And I was like, I don't want to feel this way. Yeah. I don't like this feeling.
What was it?
I had some of a cheesecake, which, was a combination of gluten and dairy. Yeah. And I had a really long day and I had eaten my healthy meals. I ate my healthy breakfast. I had my healthy lunch. Yeah. So I think that's the only thing that saved me.
We may need to add a enzyme to your medicine cabinet.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
For times like that.
For moments of it. It was one of those really long, stressful days and I needed a little treat to keep me moving. But then by the end of the day, I said, why did I do that? And I'm just sitting there contemplating my entire life.
Okay, so go to the portal and get the cheesecake bites.
There we go.
And then freeze them so that you can have that when you want it.
Okay, but this was also my thing that I learned in this whole process is the world makes it really hard to be healthy.
Yeah.
I do really great at home. I do really great when I have all of my stuff but why when I go out into the world and I want to enjoy a meal with friends and I want to be able to work and have options that are healthy, why is that so hard? Why is it so much to ask for? I've really, really realized just how much we're not doing.
You don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
I have. I began. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
truly. And that's why I have so much empathy for people who are just struggling and have chronic issues because you walk out into the world outside of your own choices, and you have to make a choice, or you're going out to dinner, or life is really chaotic and you have to eat out for some reason. It isn't made easy to give you the option to be healthy.
It's true. And it's getting better. Like, we have options, but not accessible. They're not accessible to everybody. I know what you're saying. This is kind of a funny story, a little bit on topic, a little bit off topic, but my husband's friend was in town visiting, and I was trying to do a fast that day. And I don't remember what hour I was on. And I was like, yeah, I can't really like run the kids around all night and be on a fast. He's like, why? You'll stop at Chick-fil-A or something? And I was like, no. I'm like, I don't trust myself if I get dizzy or something. Like, I would never stop at Chick-fil-A for myself.
You're like, if my kids need it, yeah.
I mean, yeah, like the kids are more resilient than me. Like, I feel horrible when I eat that stuff. I would rather starve, and that's a blood sugar issue. But I do keep nuts and stuff in my car. My point was, I couldn't be on a fast and like do all the things I needed to do that night because I was afraid, like, driving, you got to be careful when you're fasting.
Yeah, no, you do. And you do have to keep emergency nuts on hand, because I had my emergency nuts at a wedding one time. One of my friends was getting married, and I was really at the middle point of this.
The Eastern Tennessee wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were in the very middle. We had hit like a 5-week mark, and I was like, this wedding can't be mine.
They even ordered you special food.
Yeah, because I was vegetarian, so they were already accommodating me. And I, made all of my friends, I said, go eat the food that they that they ordered specifically for me. And I was eating my nuts at the table because I felt so good that I just didn't want to spiral yet.
I think it's good that you're sharing that, because again, like, the level of compliance that you had is why you got the rich results. It doesn't come without that much dedication. And that's really always the hang up I have with people is like, if I could do it for you, I would.
But you have to want to do it.
Yeah. You have to want to know that there's another side to how you feel.
Mm-hmm. And you have to be willing to, it was, Cara and I had a lot of hard conversations, just like the vegetarian one, where she's like, hey, if you're going to continue on this diet, I don't know that you're ever going to full peak 100% fully healed.
I can't promise like 100% optimization.
Without me changing.
It would have been
diet.
like if you came to me and you're like, I still wake up every day at 3:30 and then I work out and I work, and I would be like, well, we'll support you, but we can't optimize that.
Mm-hmm. It was very much like she said, here are like all your options and you have to decide what's going to be best. And I said, okay, well, this is something I still very much want, but how can I do everything else?
Yeah.
And we very much worked around that because I was willing to do everything else. And I said that, that'll be a conversation down the road. We'll see how I develop over as my years go on. But right now, this is how I feel, and this is where I'm at. And we had like
when you took
really
your trips,
ones.
you took your supplements, you took your electrolytes.
Yeah. And I still was eating gluten-free dairy. I brought food in coolers because I knew, again, the world doesn't make it easy. So if we were going to be out and about, I was not going to find food.
It's nice that your guy's supportive of all that too.
He was. He's been eating everything.
He's fasting as well.
Yeah, he very much wanted to kill me one of the days because I gave him a hard time for drinking coffee when I was like, but that's inflammation. I don't think he's like, but you can. The internet says it's fine. And I was like, no, I don't think Cara would say
then
it's
remember
fine.
what my answer was?
Yeah. And you're like, oh, it's fine as long as
it's fine for him. It wouldn't be for you.
Yeah, that was it. And I said, okay, fine.
But you don't drink coffee anyways, but it's almost like your system just rejects it because it would be too stressful for you to have coffee. It would raise your cortisol.
Because of that potential gene that I have that really holds on to inflammation. So that all being said, now I probably won't be able to eat a lot of dairy. Gluten.
No, I think you'll be able to eat. I think you'll be able to enjoy the cheeses that you eat. You make good dairy choices. It's not like you're just like binging ice cream.
No, I just really like blocks of cheese.
I know. So like, and those are, have enzymes in them. So in reality, I think, another solid 8 weeks, then you would be able to incorporate cheese and feel good.
Yeah. It's just, we haven't hit there. You guys are really seeing at this like middle mark where I did put in a whole lot of work. I feel really great. I'm really happy with how far it's come, but there's still more work to be done. And that's a testament to the fact I really thought it was going to be easy in a moment where it was like, I can do this because I want to feel better. But I think realizing that, oh, this is decades of my life that I've done damage to my body, eating all kinds of things and doing all the right and wrong things, that I've created kind of a disaster, and I can't expect that it's going to be fixed.
Just a kid from the Midwest.
Eating at my chain restaurants and having my good fried food for so many years of my life.
Chips.
Yeah, all the things that I did have to kind of come to this realization that like I'm rewriting years of things that were done to my body.
And I love that you said that too. I think this is going to be so helpful for your listeners because it's so true. Like you took a cooler to a wedding with you. You realize that it's going to take time. I think a lot of times you do feel better. So that gives you a hope to keep going. And that's always the initial response I want from my clients is, oh, this is the best I've felt in a long time. But I always tell people the calculation is 1 month for every year.
That's a lot of years. That's a lot of months.
I mean, I work with like people in their 50s and I'm like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but like I need 18 months. And not meeting weekly or anything like that, but like 18 months of really consistent like habit changes.
And it's hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. It was hard. It was one of the most trying 8 weeks of my life.
What was the hardest part though?
I think
drinking water.
Yes. I'm still working on that. Still learning how to do that. It's really...
Don't be fooled by her big water bottles.
It's always full. Just not a lot of drinking out of it. I think the hardest part was really changing my lifestyle. And I'm actually really proud of where I've come in the fact that I've really learned to stop taking so much stress on. I've really fought back against that. I've showed up for myself in a lot more ways than I really thought possible.
Would you say you have a little bit more resilience to stress though? Yeah.
For sure. I bounce back a lot more. I'm quicker to say, hey, this is going to add more stress to me. Before it was like, just keep piling it on. I'll figure it out. Yeah. Now I'm like, no. I need a day. Yeah. Give me a break and I will be back even better. But I've learned to just advocate for myself a little bit more. Yeah. In that area.
And when you say your lifestyle, are you saying like, because you have so many friends and like activities and going out and drinking and that kind of stuff?
It was more just honestly, the drinking's the easiest part. I have had maybe 2 sips of a spiked hot chocolate since we started this whole thing.
That seems like a random choice.
It really was. I just really wanted the hot chocolate, if I'm being honest. I didn't really care for the alcohol that was in it. That part I don't miss. That one's been easy. It's more just learning to incorporate all the healthy stuff to my busy lifestyle. Like cooking meals and making sure I'm preparing stuff and being...
Well, and people probably don't realize, but like you don't know what time you're getting home every day.
Yeah, everything changes.
A lot of people have more routine of a schedule. Like I even have a block of like, this is when my kids are at school. This is when I do my work. And then I shift to my next block, which is, you know, I always say I work 9 to 5 and then driving 5 to 9.
I like that remix. Dolly.
Like always something. So like supporting yourself and your routine is going to be different than your followers and your listeners.
Very much so. And a lot of my schedule is always up in the air and it's always changing. So I had to adjust really just how I go about doing things and add in more consistency to my health routine because my life is inconsistent.
Well, and an example of that is we did mostly warm, savory breakfast for you and moved your smoothie to a time where it was really hard for you to eat.
Yep. Lunchtime. Because I wouldn't like to eat at lunchtime.
Well, and that's the other random thing is like half the time you were home to eat lunch. And so she had her smoothie with her anyway.
Yeah. I let it defrost all day. Yeah.
So she would, and that's a good habit to tell people. She made her smoothies ahead of time, froze them, and we took them out of the freezer in the morning so she could have it for lunch.
And that was very much, the smoothies were a great integration into having healthy meals because honestly, food prep is hard. That's a really hard part for me. I love to cook. It's very much something that I enjoy doing, but it requires a lot of time and effort that I don't genuinely have.
And you did that on Sundays for the most part?
For the most part. Now I've kind of, it's all over the place because I'll batch make things
well,
now.
because it's now more incorporated. Like
Yep.
it's just what you do. So you don't have to like set aside a time or have a very specific grocery list, because that first grocery list is expensive. Am I right?
Yeah.
The oils, the seeds, the nuts.
Yeah.
But they
And
carry
every
you
time when
through.
I had to like restock everything, that was like
Your
the big one.
supplements.
But everything in between was easy because
Yeah.
I knew and I had different ingredients. And when you were cooking so much, it just changing that habit of me just finding convenience over something that was better for me was probably the hardest part
Yeah.
out of all of it. Everything else, once that started to really came together, I would say that took me about a month to get used to that.
Yeah. So then the other thing I want you to talk about, I'm acting like I'm the host here.
I love this.
Reverse roles. But I think it's really helpful for people is your boyfriend eats meat. So tell people like how you made it work where it was accommodating both of you guys.
So every meal that we made fit with my dietary restrictions with gluten-free, dairy-free, and no meat. And then he always had either steak or turkey, and he would just add it to practically everything we made.
As a side.
Yeah. Like he would.
So
he
he ate what you ate.
exact same thing. And then he'd top it with the steak that he made. Soups, he'd throw steak in there. And he loved it. It was
I
like
love that.
his
I
easy way
think
to do it.
People go into it thinking, well, I don't want to make 2 meals. Or like if you have kids and say a picky husband or spouse or whatever, I don't want to make 3 meals. But I always say like you rework the meal you make. Like you make 1 meal and then they eat it their own various ways.
Yeah, however they want to
Yeah.
or need to. And there was a lot of times where there's one meal that we're both obsessed with. It's called Marry Me Chickpeas. I now batch make it because he could drink it, I swear.
I love Marry Me anything.
Oh my gosh, the whole sauce I think is all the same and it's so good.
So good.
And he doesn't eat that with any meat. There's a lot of them he doesn't eat with me because he genuinely likes the meals because they're great. But then, when he gets like a craving and he's like, I need some protein, he'll throw it in there. And it's a great addition and it makes it really easy that I don't feel stressful if one of us is cooking, that we have to do something for the other one.
So what was his innocent bystander results?
I think he felt better. It was funny because we both were notorious for also not eating breakfast in the morning, just busy life. And that's become there was one day where he didn't eat breakfast and the next day he wasn't feeling super great when he got home like from work that day. So the next day I said, you have to eat breakfast today and tell me how you feel. And
I love that.
He came home that night. He said, I was like, did you get tired? Did you have like a midday, not, slump or anything? He's like, no, I felt great. I was like, I'm telling you, that was a huge change for me. Like I don't have the midday slump anymore because I eat breakfast.
Yeah, people don't realize that. Again, they think it's a calorie control thing, but it's the whole system is working.
Yep.
Not just insulin or calorie systems.
You've rewired my brain in so many different ways. So yeah, from anything from snacking to eating in the morning to going on walks instead of being intense. I mean, I just hope in general that people are taking from this that I basically thought I was doing everything correctly and I was living a healthy life by a lot of standards. And I had to stop all of it and change to do better for myself and fit a lot more of what my body needed. And sometimes that's all our body is really asking for is us to just like take the intention to ourselves instead of from everyone else.
Yeah.
And that was very much what changed the game for me. Is there anything we haven't hit on that you want to make sure we talk about or things that might help?
No, I think everything else is just too bio-individualized. And I think I guess that's the last thing to talk about is like, when Morgan shares stuff that's working for her, sometimes it is a general synopsis that it does work for everybody, but not everything she shares is foundational health. It's her health. It's her health journey. And it's really important to be happy for people where they're at and also be encouraged that you can get there.
Yeah. And that's always the hope in sharing, even in doing this episode, is just to give you perspective and maybe open your mind just a little bit more. Because I think if you would have told me before I ever had Remy, I've told Cara this story. Before I ever had Remy, I would have never known anything about holistic or integrative or functional health. And Remy has a holistic and traditional medicine vet who combines both of them, what you'd call now an integrative vet. And I had her for 10 years with Remy, and that was my introduction to all of this. And I'm really thankful for that experience because it's helped my health. It's helped Remy's health, Hazel. Like it's shaped a lot of what I understand about health and wellness. And I think so much of it can be wrapped in such a tiny bow of saying this is not a one size fits all. What works for me is not going to work for you, but I hope it encourages you to look for things for you. And also just be curious, be asking questions, be open-minded, because the answers that you might think are there may be a little bit more complex than what you've been believed to think your entire life.
Yeah.
It's good to challenge that belief sometimes.
Yeah. And from a foundational standpoint, if you heal your cells, your body will heal. So we have to take whatever's stressing the cells out and replace it with what's nourishing the cells. And that's what I teach.
Yeah.
That
and
is
that's
the
important.
Across the board part.
And all back to like, please don't do the parasite cleanse you see online. Make sure you're ready for this. Like,
Morgan's not even going to get to do a parasite cleanse till the spring.
Yeah, and I've been working on this for a long time.
Perspective.
Yes. So just be wary of what you're seeing online, but also like take it as knowledge and ask questions and be curious. That's what started this whole thing for me, was asking Cara questions on a podcast episode. Truly.
Let's exchange info.
Yeah. Like
but even then it took a few months.
It did. And because life was happening, you know, and we had to find the right period of time in my life that it was going to work. So everybody's going to have these moments where it'll work and where it won't. And it's really, more than anything, what's really discouraging is to be chronically ill. I know that from so many standpoints now, and it's really hard to sit in a doctor's office and say, you're totally fine. But here, we can try X, Y, and Z. And you're just sitting there like, I don't want to spend more money trying X, Y, and Z when I know I don't feel good, even though you're telling me I'm fine. And so this is for everybody who feels that way, just to say whatever you're feeling is valid. Yeah. And there are options for you to try other things, however it may look for you.
And don't let anyone normalize not feeling good.
Exactly. Cara's whole thing is the feel good way. Yeah. You're supposed to feel good.
Exactly.
And you do have a big announcement coming.
Yeah.
At this point, when this comes out on Monday.
Yes.
Will you have shared?
Is it this Monday before Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So we need to make sure everybody just goes and checks you out on socials.
Yes.
Okay. She has a big stuff coming.
Yes. That anybody can do.
Which is
huge. You don't have to prep your body for this. And that's why I did it. That's why. So it is a product. And the reason I did this as my first product is because I see it as being valuable to every person, no matter what age.
And this is important because if you are wanting things to kind of work for everybody, then this is a great starting point. But also, she does all kinds of challenges that anybody can get on. And
in our membership portal right now, or in our membership, we are working on inflammation as a theme. And we just talked about genetic inflammation. So like the things that we see show up in your labs, we just talked about in November. And December, we're working on inflammation from a nervous system standpoint. How the nervous system, you know how you're talking about rewiring? Well, like the body rewires too. So we're doing that. But more importantly, in the new year, we are working backwards. So back to basics, regulating blood sugar, but also how to biohack your own body to regulate blood sugar, because each body is different, and tools to use to do that. So getting our metabolic system optimized will not only reverse diseases, but it'll prevent almost every single disease there is.
Wow. Yeah. And see, this is all stuff that you guys can use Cara virtually through her programs and memberships and all kinds of things. You can also just start by eating whole foods and getting her cookbook. That's a great place to start if you're like overwhelmed and this is too much. Yeah. She has a great cookbook called The Feel Good Way, and you can start there by cooking better for yourself.
Or just cooking.
Just trying some new things. Yeah. So, but check them all out. It's caraclarknutrition.com for everything. Yeah. And then I'm excited to see the new product coming out.
I know. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And honestly, thanks for being so transparent and vulnerable. This is obviously going to help your audience, but it's going to help mine too.
Well, yeah, because it's important. This is the whole story.
Yeah.
I can only share so much in a minute, 30-second clip online, but
you tried.
Form, and that's where I get yelled at for doing something. I said, no, I'm just trying to help anybody maybe this way. So this was the long form version to hopefully help other people start to heal, because I know me feeling better would make a lot of other people feel great if they could feel what I'm feeling right now.
We can't wait to tell you guys that her smell is 100% back.
That'll be an exciting day.
Yeah.
That might be as exciting as the standing only jeans day.
For sure.
Well, Cara, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.